Welcome to the another episode of Voices of West Windsor. And today I'm extremely honored and proud to welcome our guest, Mayor Hemant Marathe. He has been the backbone of this town. Definitely, I know him for so many years and he has been doing a commendable job. But during this pandemic time, the way he has handled the situation and his administration, I cannot tell you how proud I am to be a resident of this town. And thank you, Mayor, for doing what you have been doing. And we are really honored to have you on board.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me and saying so many good things about me. We are glad to have you. Plainsboro is a great town, but we always think our town is number one in the country. So we are glad to have you as well. You have been very positive changes for the township. You've been volunteering and just like this project and congratulations for the recognition you received last week.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, um, as the thing starts, so I want to know that what does Windsor means to you, and what makes it unique in your eyes?
Um, we landed in West Windsor by accident in the sense that when my wife's job got transferred from Syracuse to West Windsor to New Jersey, we looked at various communities. We looked in Pennsylvania, we looked at Montgomery, we looked at Lawrenceville, and this is the place we really liked. We had a 5-year-old and a newborn baby. Literally, when we came house hunting, she was 2 weeks old, my second daughter. So one of the requirement was that we wanted to move directly into the final house that we will occupy and not go into an apartment for a few days and then go through the move again. So this was one of the areas that we liked and we found where the builder was willing to give us within a time frame. And there are a lot of things in life that are fate, chance. We didn't know how the street would be because it was a brand new development. Right. But it was a best thing that happened to us because when we moved, the street was full of kids. My daughter was the second oldest at 4. There was a 5-year-old boy, and there were roughly about 20 kids on the street. So it was just like me growing up in Bombay. Everybody would just go out and play on the street whole day and fairly safe. I always say I've been in West Windsor since 1996. So I've been, 1994. So I have been in West Windsor for the longest time in my life. I mean, if I go ahead and how many places I have lived in life, I lived in Bombay in an apartment. I lived with my grandmother for a few years. Then we moved into an apartment. Then I went to college. I went to 2 colleges in the US. So if you calculate how long I have been at each residence, West Windsor is where I have been the longest at one location and one home. So all practical purposes, this is my home. I have been in this house longer than I was in Bombay growing up. So for all practical purposes, this is my hometown. And it means a lot to me. I mean, this was a perfect town. 4 of our daughters grew up, went through the public school system. So whatever we have achieved in life, whatever we have done in life, it's mainly from this location because this was our only first real stable location after being a student for me and my wife. So we owe everything to West Windsor, and I could not have made a better decision among all the places that we looked at before we decided to move to West Windsor. So I always tell people who don't like me politically that you can blame the real estate agent who got me here. Don't blame me. If she hadn't shown me this house, I may have been in Montgomery or in Pennsylvania or in Lawrenceville or someplace else. So blame her, not me. So, but West Windsor means all to me and my wife and my kids. Once my eldest daughter went to high school, they had told us that we are not moving. If you want to move, you can move. And because of the age difference between our kids, Uh, the first two are uh, apart 4 years apart, and then the second and the twins are 3 years apart. So once we start at school, we don't let go for about 11, 12 years, depending on high school or elementary school. So it has been a great experience. Nothing to complain about.
Wow, that is so nice. Like, since 1994, it's been like forever, I feel. You have seen such a different West Windsor now. So
Yeah.
during your tenure over here, is there someone or some people in this town who have inspired you?
Oh, there are a lot of people who inspired me. When I came here in 94, and I really don't want to name any names because then other people will feel uh, not slighted. But when I came here, I was stay-at-home dad. My wife worked for Bristol Myers Squibb, so I decided to stay at home. Whatever I could work from home, work from home. Otherwise, I was Mr. Mom volunteering in Dutch Neck. That's how I got involved in the school board because I was going to PTA meetings, volunteering on the first technology committee that the WWP school district established. At that time, Cash got me involved with Lions Club, and there were a lot of Lions Club members who inspired me because I see these 80-year-old people, 85-year-old people, and they were so enthusiastic and so full of energy and always wanted to do new projects. I said I have to do at least twice as much as they do, and I wish when I am their age, I have the same energy level and same enthusiasm to do projects around town. So, uh, and again, in West Windsor, there are a lot of people who volunteer in various committees and various boards, and they do it because they want to do it. They don't want any recognition. They do it out of goodness of their heart, and that's what makes this community great. That there are so many people who are willing to do it for the kids, do it for the community. So there was a lot of things that I learned from these people, looking how they acted, looking how generous they were with their time. Because one thing that's as important as money is time. I always keep telling people,
Yeah.
as a mayor, I feel the time of township employees is as important to me as the money I spend in the budget. So I was so taken by the amount of time they were giving that I was inspired that I should do something for the community as well. And again, on the other hand, I owe a lot to the community because we are an unusual family. We had 4 kids. So West Windsor taxpayers did a lot to pay for my kids' education.
Yeah.
So that's my way of giving something back as a way of thanks for giving them a fabulous education, really fabulous education. So,
Wow, that is some thought. Like, I've never thought of things in this way, but awesome thought. Actually, I've been like, hearing about you since the time I was in Plainsboro. And people used to be like, you are a celebrity. And I really like, people used to talk such good things about you. So you have come a long way in
thanks. I have paid some people to talk nice things about me.
So you have been mayor for several years. So
3 years
what do
now.
you, yeah. So what do you view as your most significant accomplishments?
Um, I mean, because of the pandemic, I think my most significant accomplishment is how the township has handled the pandemic and the ability to get people vaccinated. The other day, somebody asked me what I like most about being a mayor, and when I thought about it, it gives me the ability to help people. Um, uh, because of the pandemic and because of the availability of vaccination, there are a lot of older folks who are not technically technology savvy who couldn't go through the NJVSS system. So I had to have an argument with the state to come up with a system, with a hybrid system, where we are allowed to place a certain number of people every week to get them vaccinated, while the other people go through the NJVSS computer system. So I'm very proud to say that we have vaccinated everybody that we know who is 70 years or older, and so many more people who are younger than 70 years. And that is because of me talking to the state, convincing them that you need to have an hybrid system. Mercer County is unique in the sense that majority of towns have their own healthcare officers. If you go to Middlesex, if you go to Plainsboro, they depend on the Middlesex County health officer. But Mercer County is unique that at least 6 towns have their own health officers. And we have been vaccinating, giving flu vaccination for residents for a number of years. So people are very comfortable being vaccinated by West Windsor health officers.
Correct.
So I was able to convince the state to give us a fixed slot. We got 80 slots every week, and we have been able to, and the the relief that these people feel once they are vaccinated is really something that gives me a lot of pleasure to see this 80-year-old, 90-year-old. I mean, the first person we vaccinated in town was 102.
Whoa.
So, and amazingly, I mean, I'm so pleased there are at least 3 couples I know who are in their 90s and married for so many years. So that gave me a lot of pleasure that I could get them vaccinated. So that's something that I didn't expect to do when I got ran for mayor or when I got elected, because nobody had seen this pandemic coming. But that is certainly, I would say, as the highest achievement I would consider, given the cards we were dealt and how we handled it. And I have to give a lot of credit to our health department, Jill Swanson, who is the health officer, and everybody who works in the health department. They have been absolutely fabulous. I mean, I have heard and I've gotten so many emails from people thanking them or thanking me for their vaccination. But I always say that the township employees do the real work. I just show up for ribbon cutting. So they deserve a lot of credit. And not only health department, but the township never closed. I mean, we were never closed for a single day throughout the last year. I mean, we did close the municipal building to residents, but there was always people working in the municipal building. On every working day, there was somebody working in the municipal building. And as you will see with the upcoming budget that is going to be introduced in a week's time, we actually got more revenue than we predicted last year. In spite of the pandemic, in spite of losing significant amount of revenue from two of our three top sources for revenue are the uh, tickets that the police and the parking authority write, and then the hotel tax that all the hotels pay who are in town.
Yeah.
Those are two of the top three revenue sources, and we lost over 60%, 70% of revenue from those two revenue sources. In spite of that, we generated 750,000 more in revenue than we predicted last year. So, second year in a row, I'm happy to present a budget that is zero tax increase, zero municipal tax increase. So, I don't want people to come back and say, hey, my taxes went up. Yes, but there are other parts of the budget. There's a county tax, there's a school tax that I don't control. But second year in a row, in this difficult financial time, I was happy to say that we have presented a budget that has zero tax increase. And that is because all the township employees continue to work hard, and we generated as much the uniform construction card revenue, which is revenue generated when people pay for permits and the developers pay for permits when they do projects. We generated more of that revenue in 2020 than 2019 in spite of the pandemic. So all that was achieved without counting a single dollar of state aid or any gimmicks. So that I'm very proud of, that we manage both financially, health-wise, and emotionally through this very difficult difficult year.
Wow, yes, that's true. Like, as you're talking about the permits, I think construction is going on everywhere. I have, like, everybody is doing it, and that's the good source of revenue for our township,
Right,
because wherever you see, everybody is into it now, construction.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So the same thing, like, you have been in the school board as well for so many years. So, what do you think as your significant accomplishment when you were a part of the school board? and anything that you would have done differently over there?
Oh, you always feel you could have done things differently. I mean, if you don't say that, then you are not thinking. Hindsight is always 2020. Monday morning quarterback is always very easy. But the biggest challenge in school board, we moved here as I said, in '94. The school district opened uh, two schools within next 2 years. So that was the time period when the school district was growing very rapidly. I mean, I remember my first school board meeting when I went to my first school board training. They were talk about how big the school districts are, and there were some school districts in New Jersey who had 400 kids. And I told them, look, we add 400 kids every year to our school district. So it's as if we are absorbing your whole school district every year.
Yeah.
But we managed to grow through this time and not lose our quality. We continue to improve our quality. We continue to maintain our quality, and that it's like a positive feedback mechanism, because we kept improving the quality. More parents heard about it, thought about it, moved here, which increased the size of our school, which increased the size of quality. And it's very difficult to keep the quality when you go from 3,000 kids school district to roughly 9,600 kids school district. But we managed to do that, and again, the credit goes to the administration. I worked with two superintendents, Dr. Loretan and Dr. Nebel. And Dr. Loretan taught me a lot. I mean, he was a veteran and he taught me a lot, because when he was the superintendent, when I became the school board president, and then the buck stops with you. And I learned a lot from him, and how to stay calm, how to handle crisis, and all the teachers. I mean, the teachers have been fabulous, and that's why the school district kept improving with more influx of kids, and we kept maintaining our quality throughout this time. So I have nothing but good memories of my service on the school district from 2001 through 2013.
Oh, wow, that is a long time. So, anything special you remember? Any special memory about being a part of the school board? Anything?
Uh, the thing that I remember is I was involved with my kids, and they won the National Science Olympiad twice. That's quite an achievement, because
Wow,
that's like going against 50 other states. And I
correct.
still remember, I think it was in Illinois, when we won the national championship. And before that, I think 9 years or 10 years in a row, a school in Georgia had won it. And but see, again, that is a power of a single teacher and a single principal. Dr. Downs always wanted to win that, and he recruited Miss Virginia Boehner from Montgomery. And since she came the first year, I think the school district didn't win. But then every year they came. Second year they came 16th in the nation, then eighth, then fourth, then second, and then they won it in 5 years' time.
Uh,
That's quite and and that meant a lot to students. I mean, the students who participated, that meant a lot to them. That's a uh, experience that will carry with them lifelong.
correct.
And I always tell other people that it's not just academics. I mean, I've seen other good school districts. I mean, I have a cousin in Ohio who goes to a very good school district in Ohio. But even if you look at music quality in West Windsor, much better. I mean,
Oh,
I go to other schools around New Jersey for various community programs. I see the drawings hanging up in the walls. West Windsor kids take, I mean, they are in another league. I mean, the quality of even painting and drawing and art, we even had some phenomenal long distance runners. So even with sports team, they have been fairly good. So it has been a all round school district and all round kids, and that's what makes it really special.
yeah, I agree. Like, my kids are going in this school district, and I cannot even imagine going anywhere else. Like,
Mm,
this has been like, by far my best experience ever. So,
mm,
definitely, I agree. So now coming back to our favorite topic of COVID. So, of course, it is 2020 is a unique year, and in our town's history, it will go far there. So, what I wanted to check is what were as a mayor, you were supposed to take a lot of major decisions, compromises to run the town smoothly, right? So, example like, safety, small businesses have to keep on running, coordination with other towns, county, state. So, if you can just put some or throw some light on this, like, as a mayor, what did you feel?
I mean, one of the thing I noticed is there was a lot of fear because there was conflicting information coming from different sources, and especially in initial days, not too many people knew, and even today, I don't think we 100% know how it's transmitted, because there are a lot of cases that I know personally where one spouse got it, the other spouse didn't get it, or a lot of people who have been infected but they have no clue uh, how they got it or who infected them. That makes this virus scary. I mean, usually if you see somebody sick and you go close to them, you talk to them, you get a flu or you get sick, you say, hey, so and so gave me flu, he was sick, and I talked to him or I shook his hand. But with this COVID, it's really unknown as to a lot of people don't know where they caught it. And in some instances, they caught it, but they didn't give it to anybody else. So that makes it a little mystery. And people are always get afraid. They're always worried when they don't know the answers. And this is one of the situations that they don't know the answers. So one of the things I realized early on, again by trial and error, is that if I just publish whatever information I know in a non-threatening, non-alarmist way, that helped a lot. That helped a lot of people. So I started publishing every day how many cases we got in town, and I think that was a big help to a lot of people. That made them feel a lot comfortable knowing how many cases we have. And I've received comments from other towns around us that they watched our statistics too, because they wanted to know what's going on and they assumed their towns are very similar, which is very true. And because our health officer is responsible for three towns, Hightstown, West Windsor, and Robbinsville, I was getting far more data than I put out. I mean, I only put out data for West Windsor, but I could also see what was going on in Robbinsville, what was going on in Hightstown.
Hmm.
Robbinsville is fairly similar to us, closer to us. Hightstown is a very different town with very different population.
Right.
So looking at all three towns together and putting that thing together, I could get a sense of what is going on and how things were moving. The other thing I did was I always every day I spoke to Jill Swanson, our health officer, and I told her, "You're going to get tired of talking to me." But that 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 partnership was very instrumental in opening things when we could open, or at least giving people information and telling them why we were doing what we were doing or why we can't do something. Just as an example, a lot of people were upset when we didn't open the swimming pool, but by advice from jail.
Mm.
And when we put out the reasoning behind why we couldn't open the swimming pool, a lot of people felt better. They didn't really like the decision, but at least they felt better. So forming that partnership with the health department, and I never ignored her recommendation or never overrode a recommendation. That went a long way, and I could explain to people what we were doing and give kind of a comfort level that we were on top of things. I mean, we may not be able to control it 100%, but we were doing the best we can. And I have to give a lot of credit to residents of West Windsor because most of them followed the protocol. Most of them followed the recommendations. They wore masks. They tried not to party too much. And that's one reason that the number of cases in town were relatively low. I mean, I say relatively low because when they started, I was very scared considering the number of people who travel to New York City for work.
Yeah.
One person in one train car getting sick, and we would have had 50 sick people in West Windsor. So I was very scared when it started for first 2 weeks. And when in the first 2 weeks we didn't get too many cases, I said, okay, we have at least dodged a bullet in the car, because by then people had stopped going to New York City. But that was my biggest fear, that somebody sick getting on one of the train cars and getting 50 or 100 people infected in one swoop. And before you know it, then it starts spreading very wildly. So, for whatever reason, maybe luck, maybe fate, we dodged that bullet, and that helped us a lot. Because once people knew, and once people stopped going to New York City, then people started following protocol, and then we got cases, a few cases far in between, relative to what we could have had, given the number of people traveling to New York City.
Yeah, correct. Because as you have told about the communication, I would also say the communication that we used to get from your side made us feel very positive about things, because you're more aware of what's happening in your surroundings. And similarly, people started saying in the other township that, oh, I wish, like, we should have the numbers. And I'm like, yeah, we are lucky. Yes, of course. But the thing is, communication between the administration and the residents is very important. And it was there during this time. People were not confused. So yes, yeah, the health department, hats off to all of you to doing that. So of course, I'm sure to reach to this level, there must be a lot of behind the scene processes, which we don't know as a resident. We'll just come to know when the action are taken. So is there anything that you would like us to know, that what level of coordination that went behind when the municipal responses were taken during this pandemic time, and any specific township initiative that stood out in particular?
No, I mean, a lot of things happen behind the scene. I mean, nothing happens magically,
Yeah.
right? Tim Lynch is our emergency management coordinator, and he was coordinating everything. Chief Garofalo was wonderful, because the police were out all the time. Again, they never took time off. The Marlena Schmidt, Gay Huber, all the top level managers in the township were there every step of the way. And to be very honest, the council members helped a lot too. The council members were very complimentary. I mean, they started uh, projects recognizing various charities. Andrea Mendel uh, and uh, uh, all council members contributed in one way or the other. Andrea and Sonia and Mike started help with the mask project. They collected food for the needy. Linda Jeevers managed to have two blood drives in town. I mean, that was very difficult. Something doing blood drive during this pandemic was a challenge. She managed to get not one but two blood drives for two different blood banks, and they did it all very quietly without making too much fuss about it. And they asked a lot of questions, but they were asked in a manner to get educated. I mean, they were more partners with me throughout the process, and I want to compliment them and thank them for letting the administration do the job, asking a lot of questions but giving us a leeway and not second guessing us, and while at the same time doing their own project in the community in a various forms. So all four council members who were on council that time, Mike, Sonia, Andrea, Linda, they all helped. They all helped in their own way, and I'm really thankful to them for that.
Yeah, yeah, true. Like, I spoke with Sonia, Andrea, and definitely the projects that they undertook, and then they did that hometown heroes also.
Yes, the hometown heroes. They still, I think it's just wrapped up, but that's entirely their initiative. I mean, as I always say, they call me for ribbon cutting, but they did all the work, leg work, and they did all the work. I don't deserve any credit for that. So Both Sonia and Andrea did that. Mike helped with the food drive, and as I said, Linda did the blood drives, two blood drives. So, and Linda recently also did the collection of clothes for Freedom Village.
Yes.
That has gone a long way, and I expect that to be an annual event because they really appreciated what we did.
Yeah, no, we have a good team working.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
yeah.
So from the past year, there has been a lot of changes, operational changes that have taken. Do you foresee any of these changes staying with us even after the COVID has ended?
What kind of changes you have in mind?
Any operational changes, like for example, now we are more remote, we are more virtual. Do you think?
No, not from the township government point of view. As I said, I mean, we were virtual for a very small time. I mean, we were virtual only in special situations.
Right.
I mean, police can't be virtual; they have to be on the job every day. Firefighters can't be virtual; they have to be on the job every day. So they all, even when we got occasionally got cases, and they were exposed to other people in the when you make a stop, you come in contact with whoever is in the car. To their credit, they carried on as usual, and even township employees, um, unless somebody was quarantined because of some reason,
Right.
most of them came to work. I mean, in early days, we had done two teams, team A, team B. One team would come 3 days, one team would come other 3 days, just so that in case something happens, not all of them have to be quarantined at the same time, and we have a functioning government.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we never had to come to that. We never had to resort to that. Whatever quarantine was required was, occasional basis,
Correct.
nothing substantial. But it worked out, and I'm very eager to open the municipal building to the public,
Yeah.
and I'm very eager to have township functions
Oh yeah.
in town. So
Yeah.
we will go back to. I mean, the things will never be 100% the same. A lot of people are going to continue to wear masks. A lot of people will be afraid to shake hands. So it's never going to be 100% back to what it was before. But I fully hope and expect to go back where the municipal building is open to everyone. We have
Yeah.
our Memorial Day parade. We have our trunk or treat events, things like that.
Think
We
for
have
all.
a swimming pool open. So
Yeah.
I hope and expect to go back to that situation.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just crossing the fingers.
Yes.
So, um, please describe the importance of you seeing having a non-partisan government structure versus a partisan one.
Oh,
Video is.
that
Oh no.
that is very important. I mean, if you look at the national level or the state level, you see people fight simply because party has become as bad as religion, unfortunately. I mean, fixing a road is not Republican, not Democratic. Dealing with this health crisis was not Republican, not Democratic. I mean, I didn't ask people uh, before they were vaccinated. I mean, you don't ask your doctor whether he's a Republican or Democrat. You go to the best doctor, the doctor you feel most comfortable with. When a plumber comes to your house, you don't ask him, hey, are you Republican or Democratic, right? So, unfortunately, in some instances, politics has become a profession,
Yeah.
and that means that you have to keep your seat no matter at what cost. I don't consider it a profession. I consider it as a volunteer service. I always say if I lose an election, my wife will throw a party because I'll finally be home. So that I sincerely hope people at the local level vote for the best person, whether he or she is a Democrat, Republican, tall, short, fat, thin. I always tell people don't vote for me because I'm a Seahawk fan or because I'm bald or I'm 5 feet 5. Just vote for me because of my record, what I have done. And not because of what I say, but what I have done and how I have conducted myself in public life. I mean, I have a 20 years record. First year I got elected was 2001. Now it's a 20-year record. So why do you care whether I call myself Republican, myself Democrat? I mean, if you poll people on any issue, I will bet you that if you just know their opinion, you will not be able to tell most majority of people whether they are Republican or Democrat. There are 5% on fringes in both parties
Oh, yeah, yeah,
who
yeah.
make it very difficult to everybody.
Yeah,
And but I always say it's election is as much about the candidate as about the people who vote. Because
yeah,
if the people who vote concentrate on things that are important to them, then the system will automatically be fixed.
correct.
I've always said many times to people that if you elect the best candidate on the ticket, no matter what the other factors are, you will clean up the politics in two election cycles.
Yeah,
Because the politicians will learn that simply calling somebody names or somebody pointing out he's a Democrat or he's a Republican doesn't get you to win election.
yeah,
And once they realize that, this nonsense will stop. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure once when I run, people will say, oh, he's a registered Republican. Yeah, I'm registered Republican. I believe in smaller government. I always think if you're a little guy, smaller government is better for you than a bigger government, because the bigger the government gets, people with money have access, people without money don't have access. As simple as that. I mean, I don't see that's a logical conclusion. So I have Republican beliefs for a certain reason, but I don't believe with everything that's Republicans say. I don't believe with everything that Democrats say.
correct.
I always say if any two people believe 100% of the time or agree 100% of the time, one of them is not thinking. I mean, I don't agree with my wife 100% of the time. We have our arguments, we have our fights, but that's okay. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what makes life interesting.
yeah,
So I hope people vote on a person's record, what the person has done, and how the person has conducted himself or herself when he or she had the opportunity, rather than the labels that people would want to attach to them. Hey, he's a Seahawks fan, so if you're a Yankee fan, don't vote for him. Or
yeah,
a Giants fan, or a Jets fan, or a Eagles fan. It makes no difference. I
yeah,
mean, that's not going to get your roads fixed. Whether if I suddenly became a Giants fan, the road is not going to be fixed magically. It makes no difference. So if majority of people focus on, you're always going to have these 5% fringe on both sides.
correct.
There's nothing you can do about it, and you're always going to have people who depend on politics for their livelihood.
Oh,
That is never going to change.
yeah, yeah,
But if majority of people who don't depend on politics choose a candidate that has the best record or has done what he or she has promised they will do, the politics will be cleaned in no time. As long as you keep feeding this monster of labels,
yeah.
then we will never get it clean.
And it's so,
So the minute you stop feeding that monster of labels, things will automatically
yeah,
improve.
yeah. I agree. I agree. Sometimes
Yeah.
it becomes so nasty and negative that you want to just move away from that place. Like, it
Oh,
is. I,
absolutely.
yeah, it's too much to, like, it's fine, and I completely agree with you. Just remember that you have to do the job. It's not
Yeah.
like, and it has to be done the right way.
No, not only that, but you have to do the job you are elected to do. I mean, a lot of people ask me to comment on what the state assembly should do, or what the federal government should do, or what UN should do. And I always tell them I have always resisted passing any resolutions or any motion to advise the federal government what they should be doing. That's not my job. My job is to care about people of West Windsor. And any issue that affects the people of West Windsor, I will give you opinion on. I am not going to give you opinion on what UN should do to fix a fight between country X and country Y. I mean, I may have an opinion, but that's not my job.
Yeah,
Some people say, oh, if you tell me how you think of that issue, I'll vote for you. That issue has nothing to do with my job.
right.
I mean, I have my opinion and I have my firm opinion why I believe a certain way, but that, as long as I don't let my opinion interfere with my day-to-day job, and you can easily see that if my opinion interferes with that job, then you can take action. But otherwise, don't ask me what Biden should be doing. Biden is doing what Biden is doing, and if you don't like what Biden is doing, vote against Biden. Don't ask me what Biden is doing or
Yeah,
what Murphy is doing. I mean, Murphy is running for his own election. He has his own job, and and I have my own job, and
Correct.
county executive has his own job.
Mhm.
Don't ask me to pass judgment on other people and then say, oh, you're whether you vote for me or not depends on what judgment I pass. I mean,
Correct.
I have no right to sit in their judgment. They know their issues better, and you can judge them based on their record. You judge me based on my record. So I'm not going to comment on anything that doesn't have direct effect on my job, because that decreases my ability to do the job. Getting involved in issues that have nothing to do with my job.
Wow.
So
This is
that has always
so
been my
nice.
philosophy.
So happy that I'm a part of this town. I'm so happy
Yeah,
with this. Yes,
yeah.
I agree. I completely. So, just the one or two more to go. That since West Windsor is obviously very important to you, so how do you think its history can be better preserved?
Uh, the Historic Society and you and Paul are doing a fantastic job. I mean, I've learned so much from him in last year that is unbelievable. And I'm not the best guy to tell you how to preserve the history. That's not my expertise. But I'm very happy that somebody in the next generation is taking so much interest.
Oh yes.
That's most important. I mean, I've seen Lions Club members and others telling a lot of stories about that and taking interest in that. But it is great to see the next generation taking interest, and next generation taking steps to preserve and educate the public. It was very fascinating when he educated me on how the last pandemic was handled in West Windsor.
Yeah.
Uh, and hats off to him, hats off to you, and hats off to everybody and Historical Society who are doing everything in their power to keep the history and educate the newer residents as to what the history has been. I
Correct.
mean, just a simple example. You know where I live. I live just behind you, and
Yeah.
the South Mill Road turns 90 degrees. And when I first moved there, I said, who built this road which turns 90 degrees? Why would anyone build a road that turns 90 degrees? Just go straight and give the road that name. And then somebody told me the road turned 90 degrees because it went along the farm and there was a farm there. And you are the one who came and destroyed the farm and bought the house there. So now it makes sense why the South Mill Road turns 90 degrees at that location.
Yeah.
Okay, that is good information to have. That's fascinating information to have, and that also develops appreciation in you as to
Yeah.
how good you have. I mean,
Yeah.
these people went through a lot of tough time.
Correct.
And the other thing I always fascinated, at Veterans Day, I go to the Second World War Memorial by the old school district building
Mhm.
across from the church, West Windsor Firehouse. I'm amazed as to how many kids from West Windsor served in World War II. It must have been a very small town, but
Correct.
so many kids from this small town
Yeah.
served in West Windsor. And when you read the names, you can still recognize the family names. I'm sure that they are from the same family, cousins and other cousins and uncles and aunts and from the family. It was great to see so many people from a small town served in World War II. So a lot of things, the more you learn about West Windsor, the more, the
Oh,
prouder you feel about it.
correct. Correct.
Yeah.
That's how like Voice of West Windsor came into place because that's what because that's what Paul said, that we have so much of history until 60s and 70s, but it doesn't prove the point that now we have such a diverse population now, and
Right.
when we want to preserve it, we want to go back forward, move forward by 50 years down the line. People should know that our town changed in terms of the way the people were, how the people used to live. So I'm really, Paul is one person that, and he gets
Yeah.
excited about things like when he'll do some research, he'll message that, oh, you know what, I found this. I'm like, whoa, he has that in his blood actually.
No, he spends a lot of time on it, and
Right?
really does a fabulous job. And I'm so happy. And
Yeah.
proud that and I'm glad he's in our town.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad too. Like,
So,
he is
uh,
a very
that
good kid. Yeah.
it's a privilege to have him as one of our residents.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, last but not the least, so thinking on the present, please can you talk about the changes you see in West Windsor today, like, for example, sewers or the commercial development, and how do you see them affecting the West Windsor?
Um, since I got elected mayor in 2017, I wanted to attract more commercial to town to reduce the burden on taxpayers. I mean, two of the promises I made when I ran for mayor was I won't allow any housing on Howard Hughes property, and I will attract more commercial ratables by hiring somebody to focus on them. Thankfully, we didn't have to hire anybody. Uh, as you know, we have already settled with Howard Hughes, and they are going to come up within next few months with a plan to develop that site commercially, and that's going to be a tremendous positive for West Windsor. But all the projects that I have been working on for the last 3 years will come to fruition in the next few years. They were eyesore properties across from McCaffrey's for as long as I remember, some rundown homes. Quick Check is going to come there. As I said, the Howard Hughes property will be developed into commercial centers. The train station development is becoming a reality. They too will file plans with the planning board within next 2 to 3 months. So all the projects that these things take time. I mean, these are not magic wand. You move and project happen. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of negotiations, but they are now 3 years of negotiations have paid off, and you will see a lot of things happening this year. Planning board is going to be busy starting in April, probably meeting almost every week, and next year and the year after, a lot of these projects that I've been working on behind the scene will become a reality, and people will see a lot of changes in town. The other thing I'm really proud of is managing the affordable housing obligation. When I took over as mayor, our number was would have required another 500 homes to be built across from McCaffrey's behind the gas station. We
Yeah.
managed to negotiate with various parties involved, adjust our plan here and there, and I was able to eliminate those 500 homes, which is a huge thing for the school district and which is a huge thing for West Windsor. So I'm very proud of that. That we settled the case. West Windsor has X marked on us because developers can sell houses in our town, can sell apartments in our town. So everybody wants to build here.
Mm.
So we have always marked target in every affordable housing round.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy that I managed to settle with the affordable housing folks, with the court, and with the developers, while still minimizing the damage to the township, while at the same time bring in commercial ratables to mitigate the effect of the residential development will have. I think except for one project, every other housing project also has some sort of commercial component to it,
Yeah.
and that is going to be a big help for all of us. So I'm proud of those fronts, and uh, people will see a lot of change. I mean, because of COVID, things slowed down. Otherwise, the other project that was going to happen this year was um, fixing up of 571 between Cranberry Road and
Yeah.
High School.
Oh, yeah.
The county is going to change that into a 3-lane road, 1 lane either direction, and a turning lane. So that road will start looking much nicer. You have already seen two properties next to Walgreen being developed.
Yeah.
So that property will be developed. The train station property will be developed, and hopefully in the coming year, the county will fulfill their promise to me and change that 571 into a 3-lane road,
Oh my God.
which will calm traffic down tremendously in that area, and also make the township look much nicer.
Oh my God. So we have a lot to look forward to. And thank you Mayor Marathe, for being a part of course, being a part of Voice of West Windsor is a smaller thing but being a part and parcel of this West Windsor township and communicating with us so well. Like, I don't feel definitely, and none of us, none of the residents here that I know feel any indifferent. Like, they don't feel, it's difficult to reach out to you. So it makes a lot of difference. So thank you so much. And so this interview will be published on April 8th. And this is what Paul actually enlightened me with, that April 8th is exactly 224 years after the very first ever West Windsor Township government meeting and election positions happened. So
Oh, okay.
so, so that's the reason why he said, no, we have to post this interview with Mayor Marathe on April 8th.
Okay.
So, so it'll be,
Thank, thank you for having me. It's really an honor, and thank to you and thanks to Paul. Keep up your good work. Keep up your good work.
yeah, thank you so much. And you have a good day.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye bye.